Hi guys, Kiki the Yogi here. Namaste. Today I am going to walk you through quite a few yoga poses, and these poses actually make up a sequence that we do in yoga, and it is called a sun salutation, and this particular one is the sun salutation A. In a yoga class, your teacher might say Surya Namaskara, which means sun salutation in Sanskrit. And the point of doing these, traditionally it was done to salute the sun every morning. So you would wake up and you would do a sun salutation. But for us, the point of doing these is to wake and warm up the body, to increase your strength. It increases your endurance, your flexibility, your mind-body connection, which increases your coordination, your mental focus, your clarity. It does all these things, and it does it by linking the breath, the body, and the movement in the right formation. So I'm going to teach you a bunch of different poses, one by one, and then I'll show you kind of how we link them together. So we've already done the first pose, which is mountain pose, Tadasana. So that is where we start our sun salutation. So Tadasana, again, is going to be with our feet hips width apart, and we are going to push down into all four corners of the feet. We're going to lift our toes and then widen them and then push them back down so that we feel our arches lift. This is also going to activate the inner line of our thighs, and with our help we can activate our outer thighs and just activate our buttocks and our core a little bit so that we're standing in straight alignment with the crown of our head reaching up. And for this Tadasana, for the sun salutation, we are going to have our shoulders relaxed and down our back with our palms open and facing forward. So that is mountain pose. Our next pose is going to be the upward salute, which is mountain pose. With our arms are going to be brought from this position all the way up to a high prayer position. But notice, I'm keeping all the alignment from Tadasana. My shoulders are still relaxed and down. My core is still zipped up. My ribs aren't sticking out. My butt's not sticking out. I'm not collapsing in, I'm not collapsing out. My biceps are right alongside my ears. So this is the upward salute, which is also called Urdhva Hastasana. The next pose I'm going to teach you is very important for spinal flexibility as well. So the next pose is going to be a forward fold, which is usually called Uttanasana. So once you have all this engagement from Tadasana and you're in an upward salute, to come into a forward fold, you're going to engage your core to pull your body down with a straight spine, folding from the hips, the hip joints flexors, into a forward fold. Now I'm a little more flexible, so my forward fold, I can reach the ground. Your forward fold, the most important part is to increase the area of your spine. So your knees can be bent, and you want to be, your chest is just kind of resting on your thighs. You can even fold your arms here and just hang. Make sure your neck is relaxed. Your balance is going to be between your head that's hanging and your feet that are firmly planted. You can even swing back and forth, nod your head yes, no. It's just a good release here. So after your forward fold, we're going to do what's called a halfway lift, and this is Ardha Uttanasana. So when you halfway lift, anything that's an extension is going to be done on an inhale, and anything that's a compression is going to be done on an exhale. So when I went into forward fold, I exhaled. On my inhale, I'm going to place my hands beside my feet. Inhale, look forward, and straighten my spine. However, a lot of people aren't this flexible. You know, your knees can be bent, but you can also use blocks to put on the sides of your feet to give you some leverage. You can also use your legs, as long as you're keeping all that engagement, that core engagement, you know, the spine straight. Just make sure you're making this an active posture, your spine's straight on the inhale when you're halfway lift. And then you're gonna forward fold again. And this time, you're gonna plant your hands. Your hands are gonna be planted with your fingers spread apart, wide, and you're gonna step back into a high plank pose. Your biceps are gonna be pointed forward and your triceps are gonna be pointed back. Your shoulders haven't moved at all. They're in the same position as they would be in Tadasana. So we're gonna step the left foot back and then the right foot back. When you're in high plank pose, you should have your wrist directly under your shoulders and a straight back, your crown pointing forward. It's almost like one line of energy from the crown of your head and to the heels of your feet, which are actually drawing back. So from here, most people can't go to the next pose, which is Chaturanga. So you can lower your knees and lower yourself onto the floor. Keep your core contracted and your back straight. When you lower yourself onto the floor with your knees bent, keep your shoulders coming over your wrists and bend your elbows back along the side of your body. Then you're going to tuck your toes, or untuck your toes so that they're flat on the mat. And then you're going to do Cobra pose, which is an introduction to a pose called Chaturanga, or upward facing dog, I'm sorry. So for Cobra, you're going to push into the tops of your feet, strengthen your upper back muscles, keep your shoulders back and down, use your hands to isometrically draw you back as you pull the front of your body up and forward, keeping the gaze forward. This is going to give you a great stretch in the back. And this is done on your inhale, so let me redo that for you. You exhale down, and you inhale into the Cobra pose. And then you exhale back down. On an inhale, push yourself back up, tuck your toes, and your shoulders, your core, your back, everything is going to be the same. You're going to lift your knees up, lift your hips up, straighten your arms, and push yourself back into downward facing dog. Now, downward facing dog will actually become a resting pose, even though at first it seems a little bit hard. Downward facing dog is essentially a foundation of yoga. Your hands and your feet have the same amount of weight placed within them. Your hands are spread wide, your feet and your toes are spread wide. You're pushing down. You're pulling energy through your feet into those inner thighs and pushing through your arms to make your back as straight as possible. Your head's relaxed here and your hips are pushing up. You can isometrically also drag your calves in towards each other. Now from downward dog, you're going to step back up to the front of your mat into a forward fold. Then you're going to halfway lift on your inhale. Take another forward fold on your exhale. And on your inhale, use that strength and energy from your feet being planted and up your legs to power you up into high prayer salute, where we come into prayer, into Tadasana, and start all over again. So I know it seems like a lot, and there's so many different ways to do it. This is kind of a beginner's way. So I'll show you a different way as well, which is a little bit more advanced. So once you have that core and connection, and that great, spinal alignment, and you have the strength, you'll be able to do it a little bit differently. So I'm going to show you with a different pose how we would do it. So we start in Tadasana, feet hips width apart, rooting, grounding down through the feet, activating the legs, zipping up the core, activating the buttocks, shoulders down and back, palms facing forward. We lift up into a high salute, and we fold through the forward fold. On the inhale, we halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, plant your hands right under your shoulders. Step back into plank. Inhale and plank. And on your exhale, you're gonna lower down into a four-limbed staff pose, which is called Chaturanga Dandasana. So, from your strong, sturdy plank pose, with your biceps forward, your triceps back, your shoulders in line, collarbone shining through, you are going to push forward with your toes so that your shoulders are a little bit over your wrist. You are going to bend your elbows alongside your body. From here, push off your toes, straighten your arms, and you are in upward facing dog on your inhale. Now, this might look easy and you'll see people do it, but it's harder than you think to have the correct alignment and to get the proper stretch out of this pose. So your hands are directly under your shoulders. You have your toes folded, so your toes are against the mat, pressing. It's essentially a back bend. So your upper back is bending while your heart is shining through. Your shoulders are down. And then in order to get to downward dog from here, you're going to use that core and the arms, and you are going to lift your hips while straightening your arms back, folding over your toes into downward facing dog. In your inhale, you can look forward and step forward into forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, ground down, lift up. So I'm going to do one just without explaining. That way you can see kind of what it looks like without all my jibber jabber. And it definitely does warm up the body. So, you know, it works. And it's just, even if you just do 1 or 2 of these in the morning, it'll just give you some movement that your body needs. So I'm going to start Tadasana. And if you can just remember, so you're going to inhale for every extension. You're going to exhale for every compression. So Tadasana. Inhale to high prayer. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, step back to high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, look forward, step forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, high prayer. Exhale, Tadasana. So if you want to avoid doing it wrong, another thing I recommend doing to get the correct engagement is going to be a block. So I don't know if you watched any of my other videos, but a block in Tadasana guarantees, it doesn't guarantee, but it allows you to feel what the muscle engagement is like to stand straight and evenly on both feet. So try doing the entire sun salutation with a block between your feet. I'm not kidding. So I'll show you kind of what it looks like. So start at the front of our mat, Tadasana. Inhale a high prayer. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Back to high plank. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Inhale to the top of your mat. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Upward salute. And it really does help because you'll go to a class and you'll see all these people. I'll show you an example because once you do get a little more advanced, you'll see, you know, people jumping around and doing all these crazy things when they're doing these sun salutations. So using the block really helps you get an idea of how things need to be engaged. As long as you remember when you're using the block to keep your shoulders, your spine, and like aligned, and your core and your legs engaged. So I did get an injury, so I might not do this very well. I had a rollerblading accident last week, but this is what you'll see a lot of people doing, like if they're at a more advanced level doing a sun salutation. So they add all this extra stuff into it. So they'll be in Tadasana, and they'll be in Tadasana with their feet together because it's a different school of teaching, and a lot of people think that your feet should be together. But if you're a beginner, keep your feet aligned with your sit bones, because that's going to give you the most support for your knees and your body. But for the sake of showing you, your feet would be together. They would inhale up. They would back bend. They would fold forward. They would inhale to lift. Exhale, fold. And they would jump back into a high plank. And they would chaturanga. And they would upward facing dog with their huge, dramatic movement. And they would push back in the downward dog. And they would jump to the front of their mat. And they would lift and exhale. And they would fly back up. And that would be their sun salutation, which it looks beautiful, and it's a great movement if you're doing it correctly. But if you're not doing it correctly and aligning things properly, you could do it, but you're not getting any benefit out of it because you're just flopping around, really. So I'll show you an example of somebody who has really poor alignment and doesn't have the tools to do the things that they're doing, which was probably me when I started yoga, because I was like, oh, I'm physical, I can do it. So a lot of times you'll see people and they're just, their chest is forward, their butt's sticking out, they have no spinal alignment. There's no core engagement here. I'm barely, activating my legs. I'm folding down, you look out, you're straining your neck, and then you jump back, and your whole jump, you can jump, but it's just gonna put a lot of pressure on your wrist, and it hurts, and my wrist is hurt right now, so I'm not gonna do that. And then, they'll chaturanga, their arms are to the side, and they'll look like a seal because their legs are splayed out, and their hands are this way, and they're just, looking back. And then they'll push themselves back up into like this downward dog where they're just pushing their chest in, not worried about their spine or their shoulders. And then they'll jump back, and it's just, you're not getting any benefit out of that. So I highly recommend you do the easiest form first, which is stepping back and forth. Even if it's small steps at a time, just keep the alignment in your back. And even like when you get from your forward fold, when you step back into your high plank, put your knees down. You can do a modified chaturanga this way. And then you can just come all the way down, because you're still getting that same arm benefit, that same core benefit. And then when you do cobra, you're getting that same back muscle movement that you need to be able to do before you can do downward dog. So try doing that. And then once you do feel like you are getting the benefit and the stretch out of it, practice with the block, and that'll give you the strength and the endurance to, be able to explore these other options of jumping back and forth and upward facing dog. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my yoga practice where I just, I wanted to get this pose, I want to be able to do this, and I wasn't doing it properly, and I developed a lot of bad habits that now I'm having to correct, and it's just really not worth it. It's better to have your practice. This is your practice. This is your health. This is, it's about the community, and it's about, everything. We're all connected, but it's your personal practice, and everybody's body is very different. So I really encourage you to explore your own body, the way your own body feels. Play with your breath. Try to really sync those inhales and exhales. I know I didn't do a great job explaining it, but just go really slow and feel, you know, your body and your brain will start to understand that, you know, you inhale and you grow, you know, you feel your body expanding. And when you exhale, it allows you to compress and get like a deeper stretch. And your body will start to understand that. And the slower you go and the more you link it to your breath, the more beneficial it'll be for you. So I hope that you learned something. I know it's a lot of different poses and a lot of different stuff if you're new to yoga, but there's so many resources out there. I'm just one person trying to give my input, so I appreciate anybody who's listening, and I hope that this was helpful. And whether you do it every morning to salute the sun or just a couple times a day, anytime you do it is beneficial to your body. It provides all these great benefits, and it will be, you know, great for you mentally, and it will help you focus. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for listening, and namaste.